The forces of influence in our world are powerful. Sometimes they can be violent, destructive, instantaneous. Other times, forces work much more gradually, patiently, and almost imperceptibly slow. The world of leadership is the same. Nearly every day, we witness massive forces shaping and influencing the landscape of our world. They are powerful, sudden, forceful. Simultaneously, there's a softer side of influence. Just because change happens slow and sometimes you can't see it, doesn't mean it's not happening. The next few days will be a powerful infusion of leadership training, a deluge of information, a chapter in a long story, transforming you into something our world needs most. Forces of influence. 445,000 women and men were powerful forces for good in our world, who catalyze visions, battle complacency, and unleash the potential of those around them. Your influence matters. Leadership is influence, and everyone has influence. Are you ready?
Yesterday, I seriously contemplated ending it all.
My trauma is going to define me for the rest of my life. My trauma
God has
is going to
abandoned me.
define me.
I have no hope.
My very first memory with my mom was when these uniformed men busted through our door. They came and took all of the drugs down from the cabinets and the wardrobes. My mom was on the kitchen floor just screaming and crying, my baby, my baby. And that was the last time I saw her for a while. Then I went to my first foster home. There was 10 beds in one room. There wasn't a lot of nurture or care like you hope to have when you're a kid. I just knew pretty fast that we weren't in like the best situation, but it was the lesser of two evils. I moved home after home after home. I suppose there were good ones in there, but none of them wanted me, long term. My file said I was unadoptable, troubled. By the time I had emancipated foster care at 18, I had lived in 12 different foster homes. Because I come from a background of trauma, because I've had these labels, I have to work a million times harder for people to take me seriously. I woke up, went to school, came home, and that was it. So I didn't really have very many friends because of the policies that surrounded my case. But during track season, I got to go to the track, and my track coach, Scott, he said that because of my grit, that I could win the state track meet. And we were the only two people on the track. And I like remember looking around and being like, is he talking to me? Because no one had said stuff like that to me, that I could do something like incredible. I had a really bad block start. And in my head, I was just repeating, keep form. And it was like Scott's voice, just keep form. I won. I ended up going to Hillsdale College on a full-ride track scholarship, and in 2018, I became a part of the 3% of foster youth to graduate from college. I married my husband, Jacob, a week after college graduation, and we have 2 biological children, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and we adopted an 18-year-old a few months ago. My husband grew up going to the Global Leadership Summit, and he was actually on a work trip, and he kept texting me. He was like, you have to go to Global Leadership Summit. I ended up going, and I had no idea how much I needed it. God just spoke something so differently over me. It was like he asked me the question, like, what are you doing? And I know deep in my heart that I was meant to tell the story of what God had done in my life. I think that when people look at foster care or helping the underserved, they think that you have to be someone like so incredible and special. But if you look at what my track coach, if you look at what Scott did, he actually used what he had and met me where I was. And so I started with what I had and started sharing my story on social media. I wanted to encourage youth in foster care, kids who had come from abusive homes.
You truly will become what is spoken over you and what you believe about yourself.
And then it's like I started to educate foster parents from the perspective of a former foster youth and organizations and nonprofits in a way that I just really couldn't have imagined. I started the Beloved Initiative to give youth in foster care opportunities to share their stories and be empowered. I don't want to be a voice for the voiceless. The voiceless actually have voices. We should just be listening and lifting them up. I have over 300 messages in the past 2 years of people being encouraged, of people getting involved in foster care, of people adopting, and of people coming to Jesus because of the things I've shared.
Yesterday, I seriously contemplated ending it all. But then I saw your account. God used you to speak to me. You gave me hope.
Nos histoires. Une émission qui permet à tous de témoigner de ce que Dieu a fait pour eux. Nous avons été tellement bénis jusqu'ici, accueillant plusieurs personnes sur notre plateau.
Et bienvenue au plateau Nos histoires.
Des vies bouleversées par des épreuves.
Et à un certain moment, ça a éclaté. Là, on a explosé. Ça explosion a fait projeté, on a fait moi à peu près environ 10 mètres comme ça.
Certains, dont la seule solution était la mort.
Je suis allé 6h30 du matin, je commence à là-haut, je commence à le transat et je commence à mettre moi porter pour me dire.
Mais ils ont tous choisi de faire confiance à Dieu.
Je suis fatiguée comment je peux vivre et je veux faire l'expérience avec lui. Et je parle comment le Dieu qui me parole servi ou le Dieu qui me tendait tous les dimanches dans la Bible, dans mes histoires, mais mon vie connu personnellement.
Ils se sont appuyés sur la parole de Dieu et ont mis en action leur foi.
Et aujourd'hui, ils témoignent de la grandeur de Dieu.
Je parlais avec cette expérience, l'inquiétude qui ça bonheur que je peux vivre là, vivre ici.
Avec leur témoignage, ils encouragent d'autres personnes, comme vous et moi.
On dit protéger et au rétablissement, toutes les guerres te retrouvent moi.
Un nouvel épisode de Nos histoires.
La femme qui m'a atteint de cancer.
Une histoire qui ont une chance de concevoir un enfant naturellement.
Ne privons pas les autres de notre histoire, car elle est pour plusieurs source d'encouragement. Et qui sait si ce n'est pas pour un temps comme celui-ci que vous avez vécu ces choses. Restez connectés pour de nouvelles vidéos.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Juanita Ellayah, speaking on behalf of Appel. After we've heard from Granny's talk today, I would like to use immersion context to see together some of the applications of the lesson that we've learned. This is the story of Appel, a story of restoration and rehabilitation, a story of growth. Ladies and gentlemen, can I have a big hand of applause for two of our success stories? Our trainee chef and his helper at Arch Cafe, who were once homeless and with no job, but after their journey at the center, they are now employed, one living in his own house, and the another one is building his own space. Appel stands for Association pour Personnes en Larmes. It is a non-profit organization aiming at the rehabilitation of male homeless and empowering vulnerable women. Today, we will mostly focus on the rehab, but the same principle applies to other settings. Appel was founded in 2006 with the aim to rehabilitate drug addicts. In 2010, Appel branched into the SAVE program, a program that caters for people in the local community of Rochebois. It finally opened its residential care home for homeless in 2016. At that time, we had 16 beds. A crisis in 2017 thrusted the organization into social entrepreneurship. And this helped the organization to operate as a fundraising activity, to provide placement for our beneficiaries, and also to train people. Last year, we extended our bed up to 40, and with the extension of a new floor. So what do we do at the rehab? Any person who comes in, they go through 3 phases. Phase 1 is the adaptation period, where a person adopts healthy routines. Phase 2 lead the person to develop healthy habits and build foundation in order to discover healthy ways to handle personal issues. Once they are ready for placement, the person moves to phase 3 to develop job skills. Okay, now let's look at the 6 sources of influence from the perspective of the rehab center. There are 4 possible combinations when someone comes in the center. The first category are mostly people who need an opportunity to grow and move on. They are even fast-track. The last category, we go to the last one, there are people who lack motivation and very little ability. They are very hard cases, but not impossible to cater. We even have one of these cases who has rehabilitated and among our staff today. The second and third category, they will often relapse if we don't provide for their need. It is always challenging to discern a motivation issue from an ability issue. When people are motivated, they are obedient, they make effort, they are willing to try advice, but because of a certain inability, they are dependent on people. They are easily influenced. We once had this resident who was really depressed because of literacy class. He went to get a medical certificate to skip the class. And when we found out about his challenge, we immediately tailored his program. And now he's reading, he's writing, and he's texting messages during his duty at the center. With people having motivation issues, we hear many excuses in order to leave the program. You have the impression that they are under helplessness. They are doing it just because they have no choice. We also hear many egocentric conversations because they have potentials. Like Granny mentioned, bad choices are preceded by bad frames. Indeed, frames which lead to reduced motivation. These frames are in the form of traumatic background, deceptive experience, grudges against life, unrecognized talents. These have led them to have a quick fix and land into homelessness, along with a series of undesirable lifestyles. So now we should ask the question, the why and the what questions. Why are people not motivated? What are the abilities lacking? When we find out why and what, we need to treat the issues with the right method. We have many examples of inability. One inability, like I said before, is literacy. This inability of having the challenge to read, to write, it brings down the self-esteem of a person. You have the inability to resist temptation and fall back to drugs. Drug addicts also have this inability to bear physical pain during their detox. Homeless people have the inability to stay within walls. Alcoholic people have the inability to forgive. So when people lack abilities, we need to find strategies to overcome them. This could be in the form of a certain flexibility in our program, where we put them at their own pace and at different levels. Another way is by embarking on a step-by-step processing. You inform people of the hurdles ahead. And when they encounter the hurdles, they identify it, and they talk about it, and then took on the advice that's given to them on the spot. For those who have little motivation, we saw it, we need a frame. We need to change the frame. And subsequently, the feeling behind the frame will change. Well, for kids, we can put tangible frames until they can choose by themselves. Whereas for adults, at first the motivation is more of an inner issue. So, therefore, we need intangible frames, such as working on recognition of efforts. People only need a listening ear or some encouragement. I've heard one of our residents who said that it is now that he feels that he exists. Now when they start making progress and become assertive, this is when external frames comes in. For example, you allow them to lead, allow them to accompany newcomers to appointments, allow them to pick up the bread at the shop. These are external frames. Okay. We move to the social motivation. social motivation plays a great role in the life of people at any rehab. This is where immediate coaching comes in. And we do this every day. We do this during group therapy, family time session, small intervention session during the day, to hear about people's views and be coached accordingly. We also invite guest speakers to frequently come and continue the coaching from an outside perspective. Remember, people with inabilities, they rely on others to show them the way. Therefore, it is important to lead by example. Our residents also need soft skills in order to know how to work in teams, how to present themselves at an interview. Reality checks also form parts of our social ability strategies. Residents ask themselves those questions. Do my action match with my word? Am I communicating effectively? Do others see me the way I say I am? Lastly, structure is another type of influence which can be conducive to people's growth. When the physical environment is decluttered, it's organized, it's clean, it will finally force the person to have a change in lifestyle. Recently, during an online meeting, I couldn't recognize a new intake. He had a complete physical appearance change. Good structure inspires professionalism. People build their trust in what they see and experience. Also, we need to see if the structure is working for or against the people. Are we putting too much flexibility, or are we having too many restrictions? Putting time frame for phone privilege is advisable, as it is a means to reduce bad influence from the outside. On the other hand, allowing them to get frequent coaching is another means to encourage good behavior. That's just a simple example. Ladies and gentlemen, before I move on to some more transformational photos of some of our residents, I would like to thank from the bottom of my heart the wonderful team of Appel who is very devoted to their work. And I would like to share some lessons from my own leadership experience. Most of the time we picture leaders as empowerment vehicles. For me, it is more of a personal journey of who we are impacts more than what we do. Leadership means to accept one's own fault and mistakes and to learn and apply the lesson learned. Leadership is to appreciate the value and the potentials and talents of others and to be ready to learn from your team. Leadership means to be able to work as a team and to perceive things through the eyes of others and act accordingly. Any leader who improves from inside out will definitely benefit his or her surrounding. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. Please just appreciate some more transformational changes. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, so big round of applause. Thank you, Juanita. We're just going to do a panel discussion before we conclude. So can I ask, in chronological order, it seems like you want to come, so actually just come over. It's just going to be a conversation as we go along. So just quickly, thank you, Juanita, for that amazing presentation. You're clearly transforming people's life. It's fantastic. I know how stressful it is as well, how hard you work. Bernard, obviously, we've done loads of GLS together. Just quickly, what was your key highlight of tonight's evening from the recorded video, the videos that we played? Just few insight on making change. Few words. We'll just give you the mic as well. Just try test it quickly if it works.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. All you go.
Yeah. Well, definitely the 6 frames was interesting because I think, as the speaker was saying, we tend to focus on only 1 or 2. Especially we tend to focus on personal, I think, but we don't often pay attention to social and also structural. So I think the main takeaway for me was really to review my own leadership style. And I was sharing with somebody earlier on that, in fact, I don't like to tell people what to do. But I think this taught me that, in fact, sometimes you do need to tell people what to do because they may never know. They may never know, especially the ability part. Motivation is one. I think I am good at motivating people, but I may not be very good at identifying weaknesses. Yeah, so I'm not very good at identifying people's need for help, need to be enabled, need to be coached, and need to be accompanied. Yeah, thank you.
Meenakshi, maybe if you, Juanita, just go on if you want to have. Yeah.
I would like to say something that before watching the video, Granny's video, we were doing what we were doing at the center, just like I explained, but without a title, without having in mind the motivation and ability. But after watching the video, when I kind of speaking to people at the center, I now relate that this person has an ability problem, this person has a motivation problem, or both. And today, I was just speaking to one of our residents who are about to exit, and he had those skills, both motivational and ability skills. That's very rare. So that's what I want to share.
Thank you. Meenakshi, obviously, again, you've been part of GLS quite a few webinars now. Just few words on the highlight of this evening. It's been, I think, fruitful, impactful. We've learned a lot. What's your thoughts on all of this?
First of all, I watched this video for the first time in my life tonight. I'm sorry, I didn't do my homework. But last week, I visited Apple. And I took a slap in the face. I was really impacted. Firstly, because of the neatness of how disciplined it is, how clean and organized. And you see that small lady walking around with so much leadership and authority with all these guys around. And you know they've been homeless, they've been through difficult backgrounds. And I realized today while watching that and listening to you, you've been going down to structural change. You've been transforming people from their foundations. And I think I totally relate to Joseph Graney's video now, having visited Apple last week.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Juanita, did you pay Meenakshi? Because he's been praising since she started talking. Okay, fantastic. I will find out later on this one. Bernard, just quickly, if you can just pass the mic to Bernard. You've got the 6 key factors: personal motivation, social motivation, structural personality, social ability. What's personal motivation for you? If you were to share some wisdom for us, maybe give us an example in your life. What's personal motivation? Not a Cristiano Ronaldo, of course.
Personal motivation. Sorry, I'm not very good at mics. Personal motivation, I think probably, as I was saying, I think it's probably the one we tend to think of because we are, by nature, we're selfish, isn't it? And so personal motivation is really something we think of first. And so how do you get motivated personally? In fact, you need some ability. You need to be a bit confident, and you need also encouragement from people. So it doesn't work alone. Actually, you do need that social environment. You do need to meet people, and you do need to be challenged. And in a classroom, this is how schools work. When you are in a classroom, you have this social motivation as well, and measuring each other and knowing that you don't want to fall behind. In a race as well, most people, somebody wants to break a world record. He can't do it alone. You need somebody to, those races where you got somebody to lead in front.
The pace setter.
The pace setter. Yeah. If you don't have a pace setter, you won't make it. So
Yeah.
that's why you need that environment as well. So, and maybe I didn't answer your question.
Okay. No, thanks, Benno. Let's move on to Juanita. Juanita, obviously, I just wanted to put your slide back there. Yeah. You can see on top as well where you've got the growth exponential, if you like. So you've got an adaptation period, personal growth. That's something you've prepared from scratch, right? This is your novelty. How did you go about putting this together?
Well, it's just like you're a field worker, and if you want to help people, you have to start somewhere. And let's say the phase one, I have a background of a teacher. I come from Lighthouse Primary School, if you have some people out here.
Anybody from Lighthouse? Nobody couldn't afford the fees.
Before that, I was working in a school with children needs, and I really wanted to help. And when I moved on to Lighthouse, we had those keys that we were teaching kids. So when I went to work at the rehab, this is where I started. They have to unlearn and to relearn character traits. So that was the starting point for us.
That was in the adaptation period.
That's the adaptation
Fantastic.
period.
Yeah.
And that's where they learn to become responsible. We just give them simple tasks. We just ask them to love on each other because they need to be caring. I mean, they need to show their caring character. And then we move on to a deeper level, because just working on character trait is not enough. They need to know themselves. They need to know where are their gaps and weaknesses and find solutions. And then when they're ready, we had a problem at phase 2 because we didn't know why people were doing so well in the center, and then when they went out for work, they just become a different people all of a sudden. And then this is when the placement comes in. This is where we have the cafe, and then we send our residents to the cafe to learn work ethics, to learn teamwork, and this is how phase 3 comes in.
Just quickly, Meenakshi, on social motivation, you've done lots of NGOs.
Yes.
What's social motivation for you?
If I take, social motivation is very often there's a need. There's an existing need in most people who are asking to be empowered. And there's also a needs mapping with the opportunities that you can give them, actually. Because people will come to you with all sorts of needs. And out of their messy lives, out of all their issues, they have priorities that they set. So this is why so many social enterprises have different missions and NGOs and clubs. Very often people will identify to those opportunities according to their own environment. What is their community's environment? For example, I've been working with women literacy in very rural areas in Mauritius, and we realized that they were not so motivated to learn how to read and learn, because they were pretty much comfortable not being literate. Whereas they were very keen on gaining financial autonomy and developing micro businesses. So there's a real mapping that needs to be done between what is the real personal motivation and what are the opportunities that can come from the community.
Okay, thank you. I just want to pick up the audience. Anybody's got any questions, please?
I would just like to add that, come back to your question of personal motivation. And for me, sometimes seeing what is at the end is something that motivates me. I'll just give an example. For example, with Pascal, my wife, sometimes to go walking, but if I don't have a goal, I lose interest. But we went out for a walk, and the end was Bassin Vert, something like that. So that was the goal. And that kept me motivated all the way up to there. But if I just go out for walking, it doesn't motivate me. So sometimes when we do things, if we have in mind what is the end result, that keeps our motivation long quite some time.
And Mr. J, it is in your best interest when you're at Pascal that you walk fast anyway. Okay, so Bernard, just passing to Bernard quickly. Guys, of course, we've got about 12 minutes left to conclude. Bernard, we talk about structural motivation, social motivation, personal. Anything that you'd like to add on the motivation before we move on to just the next question in terms of maybe structural motivation? Because we've got, I was just watching you guys, and you've got 3 different trays here. Meenakshi, you've got the circular economy, which is the circularity in terms of maybe if Meenakshi get that desk tomorrow, he'll probably sell it for, and the chair, she'll probably sell it for 2,000 rupees the next day because she's got that circular mindset, right? And these guys are expert. When we come to Juanita, you're taking someone from nothing to a hero. You've just shown us. So that's helping its impact economy. And Bernard, I know you've been mentoring, a lot of mentoring for young people as well. Just maybe a few words on those. So we've got 3 different characters, but 3 different traits. Maybe a few words on that, on the motivation side of things.
Okay. Yeah, maybe for me, you know, I lead a company of consultants. Well, let's say we are in retirement and pension consulting, and so also some investment consulting and insurance broking as well. The structure is important, of course. So structure our teams. We structure them such that we structure them such that everybody sees. I think Jay was just saying the end result. So many of us are training to be an actuary. Now maybe they don't know what an actuary is, but if they see me talk, they see me ask them questions, they get a better idea. And I think that's quite important. The structure, the end result, and also the feeling of the satisfaction in helping people. Consultants are helping people. They are advising. They are trying to think for the client, trying to see what the problem is and trying to find a solution. Sometimes we have to admit we don't have the solution. We have to get a bit more from the from the client, more background information, what they are trying to achieve, etc. So I think structural motivation is very important. It's probably overlooked. The way we display teams, the way we arrange chairs, the way we arrange the reception area for our clients, all these things matter. I'm looking at Jay as well. Architecture, he will tell you loads more about this.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'll just pass on to Meenakshi quickly. Meenakshi, we talk about making change possible. We've talked about the 6 factors, all well and good. Change takes times. So where you guys are today, it's taken probably 10, 15, 20 years. So any young practitioners here, young people, it's not an overnight success. So just maybe a few words of where you got to. Change will take time. It's not just going to happen overnight. Maybe a few words on that.
It does, and it is a painful process to change because there's a lot of brokenness when we're in the process of stop being an all creator, be it professional, be it personal, unlearning all our educational, social, community presets, and being open, being humble enough to be open to a new perspective of things. How do we do things? How can I change my thinking process and acquire knowledge that is new to me and start building up that new professional creator? I like saying I'm a new professional creator, and I'm living my second life now. So Yes, it's. I have young people who come to me say, "Oh, I want to go social entrepreneurship. I want to impact." And I say, "Sit down 10 more years, go through the painful phase, and then we'll talk back." So that's a reality, and it requires a lot of wisdom to actually engineer your change process and your next phase.
Okay, thank you, Juanita. A few words. It took times to help people. They come from all background and all walk of life. Maybe a few words there as well as how do you motivate yourself to motivate others, really?
Things take time. Time is a healer. We cannot do things like we push the light button and have things overnight. We need to be patient. We just need to be ready also to go out of our comfort zone, like I did today. That's one of my listening that I do.
Did Meenakshi mentor you for the presentation?
Sure. And my daughter, who's sitting at the back. She's a really good teacher. So it takes time, and you really need to be ready to go out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bernard, a few words quickly on this.
No, I think you said it all. I don't know what else to say. I think the thing we need to also develop, especially in Mauritius, is a bit more time to think. I think we need to sit back and take a step back and look at the bigger picture. I think that our education system is not very good at that. I mentioned that earlier. We learn from each other. We learn many things. We accumulate knowledge, but then we don't think and we don't reflect, and we don't think how could we have done this better. It's only afterwards, many years of work, and as Juanita was just saying, sometimes we need time, and I'm sure you need a lot of patience with your people that you are looking to train and transform. And I think it's great that you're here, because I think we all learn from each other like that, in a setting like that where we can ask questions. And I think maybe we should.
No question yet.
Yeah, no, we should give you time. I'm sure there are questions. You're just a bit shy, but I think.
My name is Domen Samir, and Bernard, this question is for you. When there's something at the end of the day for anyone to make a change, or for anyone to accept change, like say for example, if we're talking about an employee and we ask that person to work like from 7 hours a day, we want that person to work 8 hours a day, and we tell them that instead of getting 10K, you're gonna get 12K. There we can motivate people. We can motivate someone, because at the end of the day, there's something that is of their interest. So how do you go about to motivate someone who is not gonna get anything at the end of the day, but you still want that person to work harder? Like for example, if I want you to make my employees accept instead of 10K, 8K, and still work the same time and with the same motivation, how do you go about to do that, to motivate someone doing that? Because the first thing is that motivation is motivation, yeah. But if that person has something to get, they will be motivated by it. But I think the real challenge is to motivate someone to do something which goes against their interest, yet you have convinced that person to do it. So how would you?
I think that one of the things we teach our employees is that it's not just about money, all right? So yes, of course, you can try to motivate people with more salary, higher, more benefits and things. But I think also there is a lot to go for in terms of job satisfaction. I mentioned job satisfaction. I don't tell people how long they need to work. I give them a task, and I give them a rough idea when I want it back, but I'll leave them to organize it. Yeah, but I will tell them that if they are stuck or if they have difficulties, come and ask. Don't be waiting, and don't put it away and do easier things all the time. You need to tackle the harder things to do. I think it's because when you don't even need to talk about salary or benefits. when you're rightly motivated. So you need to understand what makes the person interested in his job. So they will, by themselves, if they want to finish something, they don't want to leave it till tomorrow. They will work the 8th hour, and they will not ask for anything because they know that they will sleep better if they finish it today while it's hot. Instead of leaving it until tomorrow. Sometimes it's good to leave things until tomorrow as well. So what I'm saying is I think that I don't like to encourage people with just money because I think money isn't everything. It's knowledge, experience, the buzz of doing something which is really interesting or even challenging. Yeah.
May I? Samir? Thank you for this question. I just want to add something that if a person is just working for money, well, you just get an image of that person. And if a person is just is working for you and is not asking a raise, you have a good person to keep. And those who are asking money, they will always ask for money. So you have to see how you motivate your person. Good?
Good evening, everyone. I am Anjesha from Impact Avenue Training Institute, Maxwell Leadership Certified Coach, Speaker, and Trainer. So my question is for you three, and to Juanita more specifically. So what is your vision? What is your vision for the next decade? And another question also, how do you feel that we as a community, as all of us, we can help in our own little ways to make a difference?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a very good question. And we had the 2022 on the timeline, and it says catering, but we have more than that. We are about to build our training center, and where we would like to have people MQA approved, certified. So this is a very good vision for us, because we want people from the vulnerable community to still have training with a certificate, even if they have a very poor literacy, and we can empower them to get. And so I would like all of you to help out. When we train people, we need to put them on placement. And sometimes that's very challenging because they get challenged on workplaces. So maybe you can think about that. Thank you.
You mean for the good shop? No? For whatever. Okay. I think what we're doing today is we're setting the foundations, and if we look at it 10 years down the line, let's hope for replication. Replications of Apple models, of GLS models, of other models. And I believe that atomicity of initiatives all around the communities in Mauritius is what will catalyze impact and synergize actions for a new season in Mauritius.
Okay, my name is Norman. So I had a practical question. You mentioned about the depression of the people, the homeless people. In the three things we did not say about the physical, is there any challenges like depression that is deep, that they need medication and they cannot really go into your program?
Yes, absolutely. When we have homeless people comes in, some are drug addicts, and some cannot detox on their own, like cold turkey, they can't detox. So they really need medication. That's one. So when they are on medication to detox, but after that, they need to reinforce mentally. They need medication as well, and vitamins for the body. So yes.
Hi, I'm Jeremy, and just wanted to ask for concerning this personal motivation that you, Juanita, you mentioned before, but in this part of adaptation, there is this part of unlearning to get the proper motivation, because we've encountered several people, like even perhaps like even in education, people like extended stream or even homeless or even different kind of people who are deeply convinced but they can't. And even they have like habits that we consider bad habits, which are really very in their day-to-day lives and that they really have to unlearn. So my question is how to make someone unlearn, especially when they don't even realize that they need to unlearn.
Jeremy, this comes automatically when they are in a different environment. They see others, they see the structure, and then they start picking from others. That's why I said people with certain inabilities because they think they can't. But when we lead by example, when we show them the way, then it becomes automatically inside the person. That's why I said after a few days, a new intake just completely changed his physical appearance on his own. I thought it was a newcomer. So then I said, oh, is it you? So this is the first process. That's the willingness of the person. So, and then you need the immediate coaching. Then you need to tell them this is the right way. This is how you need to do it. But the first thing is you lead by example. We cannot promise somebody something and then you don't do it. It will never make an impact. So we need to make impacts, and then they will pick up behind.
Okay.
But the environment plays a crucial role.
Good evening. I'm Michael. Just a quick question about Granny's said about changing the frame for motivation. I would like some more example about how we can apply this in young adults in the Mauritian context. Like on top of my head, an example would be if you wake up and you don't want to go to work, what are the thinking process in your head that tells you?
Pointing to what you specifically said about going to work, I recently had an immediate coaching with my staff about it. You know, when you don't want to go to work, it starts the night before, right? So somebody is laughing, so that must be true. So you're preconditioning yourself not to go to work. So you need to change that. If you get up in the morning and then when you eat the first bite and you have a tummy ache, you do everything except getting ready for work. So it is because you have a precondition on the eve that you don't want to. You have a lazy morning. You just want to have a lazy, or you're tired. So you need to change that frame and the feeling behind. You need to make yourself enthusiastic. That's what I want to add to what both of Beno and Jay said. You know, motivation there are 4 factors that are linked to motivation. You have your needs that motivates you. You have your desires that motivates you. You have goals, like you said, that motivates you. But you have also values. You have values that motivate you. So pick any of them that might change the frame.
Meenakshi, a few words on this. You must have lots of sickness in the morning.
No.
As general managers, not you personally, but your staff.
I don't have morning sickness. Thank you. No, I'm bouncing back on what you said. Values, in my second professional life, we recruit people based on their values alignment, not because they're superstar, super qualified, experienced. Well, many of them are experienced and skilled, but the reason why you wake up and do something is more important than what you do actually. And recognizing your own set of values is really important.
Beno, a few words on that before we do final word of wisdom. You just want motivation in the morning, you know, and if you don't want to do it, how do you go about it?
Yeah, I think as I was saying earlier on, I think you need to think why you're in this particular situation, why you're in a particular job. think back to what you were hoping to achieve. Maybe it's not clear in the morning, it's not there for you. But I think that we need to always have daily goals. So you must think back to what you're supposed to do that day. Okay? So you're comparing, you want to compare having a lie-in as opposed to going to work. Now, if you, and suddenly the lie-in looks more interesting to you at the time, isn't it? But this is what I would say short-sightedness. If you just think a little bit longer, as Juanita was saying, you know, if you already precondition yourself not to think about the hard things, then of course you will stay in line and call in sick. But if you think of the longer-term goal, that if you don't do that day's work, tomorrow you'll have 2 days' work to do. Yeah? If you don't do another one, you'll have 3 days' work. Because the work, as I was saying, the modern way of working these days is that you're given tasks. You're not given exactly how much time it's going to take. The quicker you do it, the better. So, and the more you do, the more you'll be recognized. So in a way, yeah, you can choose to have a line, but it will be to your own detriment.
Yeah.
If you think about it. Yeah.
Final words in terms of what are we looking for the future and the next few events coming up, but what's your word of wisdom tonight on changing and transformation?
I think this whole presentation and the Mauritian example is about let's dare to, one step at a time. We don't need to rush. Being motivated is about having a dream, and being a dreamer is to always focus on your vision, on the vision, and design that pathway, your critical pathway, to reach that goal. So sometimes it's okay to go small, it's okay to go slow, but one pace at a time.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Juanita. A final word of wisdom to yourself. And of course, thank you for the snack. Thank you to your daughter and son as well. Big round of applause for Juanita there, guys. Thank you. Juanita, final word of wisdom from your side.
I will just say a few words about intentional leadership. Intentional leadership is good, but you need to be wise. You need to be discerning, because you have people's lives in your hand. That's what.
Okay, thank you. Very strong and powerful there, Juanita. Beno, final word of wisdom, based on experience, change, transformation. You've been around for a while now in terms of mentoring lots of people. Few words on that side.
Well, I think I just want to also say, make good friends. I think that you mentioned that, Juanita. At the center, you change the environment. The person suddenly feels there is a bigger world out there. Yeah, not just his home or lack of home or lack of friends away from that place. So I think choose your friends and.
When you say choose your friend, do you mean la cousine? That's good friend as well.
Maybe that's as well. But,
yeah.
But no, if you're in a toxic relationship, move away from it. Bring an end to it. And if you see somebody is interesting, you can learn from them. Follow them. Look at them, what they are saying, and learn from them.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. I just want to pick up the big round applause, of course, for the panelists, because Meenakshi is